I just rewatched the entire Masters 8 tournament, so now it's time to review the overall arc. No more waiting for the next episode or sitting through constant breaks and recaps. It's time to find out how good, or bad, the Masters tournament really is. Before talking about the Pokemon World Championships, let's first learn how to make a difference in our own world, thanks to this video sponsor, Ren. I'm sure many of you have heard the constant news about climate change, and with good reason, cause it's very real. Luckily with Ren, you can easily find out your carbon footprint and learn how to reduce it. Once you sign up to make a monthly contribution to offset your carbon footprint, you'll receive monthly updates from the projects you support. You get to see what your money is spent on, with photos and details of every tree planted and every acre reforested. A great project to support that I like is biochar in California, that helps prevent forest fires by removing dead trees and turning them into biochar. The first 100 people to sign up with my link in the description will have 10 extra trees planted in their name. Now, unlike my league reviews, I won't be rating every single episode as I already did that for their individual reviews. Instead, I'll just be breaking up this review into different sections and then giving you my final rating at the very end. So now let's get started with our first section, the introduction. Similar to the Pokemon League arcs, we got our standard introduction episode. And like the Kalos League, this was rushed. Before getting to the bad, first the good. Right off the bat, we're introduced to Hop, and although it took him a long time to appear in this series, I'm glad he was still able to show up in some shape or form. He has a pretty hilarious fight with Ash, and was a great guy for Go to bounce off of when it came to battle commentary. I especially like his reaction every time he learned Ash is familiar with one of the Masters 8. I'd be pretty shocked too if a 10-year-old knew a bunch of celebrities. Having Hop here also makes Leon more relatable. As to Hop, he isn't just the undefeated champion, that's his big brother. Having him here alongside Go is a constant reminder that Leon has people counting on him as well, so it adds a bit more weight to his final battle with Ash. Most other tournament arcs just focus on the ones who support Ash, but it's nice to have the other side of the coin here as well. Another good aspect of this introduction was the opening ceremony. Man, was it awesome. Introducing all these champion tier characters with their titles and achievements really makes this feel like the grandest Pokemon battle tournament. And that's where the positives end. Although the opening ceremony was really hype, I feel like there was a huge missed opportunity beforehand by not having Ash interact with any of the Masters 8 besides Iris. Some of these characters we haven't seen in years, and yet they just skip over any chance to properly catch up with them. And to make things worse, when the battles actually start, Ash isn't even watching with the champions, removing even more potential interactions. Ash and Alon don't even speak to each other in this episode. Alon just gives Ash this cold nod in the opening ceremony and that's it. Seriously? Last time we left Alon, he was a lot nicer than this. Why does it feel like we went back to edgy Team Flare Alon? Oh my god, and speaking of Alon, let's talk about the tournament matchups that are revealed during this opening. They're garbage. Alright, Iris versus Cynthia, that one's cool. They have a bit of history, so it's a battle I'm sure many of us can get behind. But Lance versus Diantha? Who cares? Ash versus Steven? Again, who cares? Now that's no disrespect to Steven, cause he's a pretty cool character, but he's the person in this tournament Ash has had the least amount of interactions with. So it's kinda hard to get hyped or invested with this battle when a match against Alon, Diantha, or even Lance would have been far more exciting. And lastly, Leon versus Alon. A fight we know damn well Leon won't be losing, so you know Alon is going home right after this. And that brings us to our next section. Leon versus Alon. So when it comes to this battle, I get why it happened, I just hate how it was executed. Now I don't know about you, but I'm in the camp in where if Alon wasn't gonna battle Ash, then he shouldn't have been here to begin with. A rematch between these two would have been a satisfying way to redeem Ash's Kalos League loss. Unfortunately, Ash stuck to his Journeys team for this tournament, so I get why they didn't. A rematch against Alon wouldn't be the same without Greninja. So why was Alon here then? To have a Charizard on Charizard fight that'll show off how strong Leon is. Okay, fine. I don't like it, but at least we'll get a cool form fight between G-Max Charizard and Mega Charizard X, right? Right? No, we don't even get that. Leon absolutely destroys Megazard X with base vanilla Charizard in 2 moves. It does not get any more disrespectful than that. Now Alon losing was inevitable, but the problem is how they made him lose. Because his fight with Leon was shoved into the tournament's opening episode, they had to rush the hell out of this fight so it can be concluded in the same episode. This led to Alon barely putting up a fight, making him look far weaker than he actually is. What makes this sting even more is that I don't think it would have been as bad if this happened to any other character, except for Cynthia, of course. Alon was a big character in X and Y. and we've seen all of his crazy feats that justify his Kalos League win. So why did they make him look like the weakest competitor in the Masters tournament? Even if he isn't a regional champion, he's ranked above Iris, so clearly they're acknowledging his strength and experience. But no, instead we're just gonna get rid of him real quick cause Leon is the big bad now. If you're gonna make Alon lose, at least do it right. Continue the fight into the next episode. Make the match seem a lot closer as to not undermine Alon's strength. Bro, they didn't even have the decency to make Alon use Pokemon we've already seen before. Who the heck is this Chestnut and Malamar? Alon deserved to lose for using these nobody Pokemon. This is why he should have been the one to fight Steven instead. At least then Alon could have gotten at least one win before being sent home. Lance versus Diantha. This is the fight that nobody really cared about. Diantha is probably the least popular champion and Lance is fine, I guess, but a fight against him and Iris would have been far more interesting. Still, this is the fight we got, so let's talk about it. Lance vs Diantha was a nice palate cleanser after the atrocity that was Leon vs Alon. It was a pretty straightforward fight, nothing too crazy, but also nothing infuriating either. Definitely the least controversial fight in the whole tournament. I think the best quality about it is that it's a very video game accurate fight, which contrasts the typical Ash fight we see that involves unpredictable tactics you wouldn't be able to do in the games. For instance, early on, Diantha sets up the dual light screen and reflect, a very real tactic used in competitive Pokemon. She also uses Trick or Treat to change Lance's Gyarados' typing so he can receive big damage from ghost moves. Meanwhile, at the very end, Lance relies on Dynamax so that Dragonite can tank Gardevoir's fairy moves while also stall during the hail given off from Max Hailstorm. Pretty standard video game tactics, but still cool to see in the anime. Unfortunately for Lance though, he takes the L here, but it makes sense. Diantha was the more strategic one in this fight, so she deserved to win. And honestly, I'm happy with this outcome. The winner of this fight will face Leon in the semifinals, so it would have been repetitive if Lance won and fought Leon again, considering we've already seen them fight in the beginning of the series. Also, this fight made Diantha look good, putting some much needed respect on her name. Iris vs Cynthia. Finally, a matchup I can actually get behind. Iris and Cynthia battled all the way back in Best Wishes, and it's actually referenced in this fight. The goal here is to show off how far Iris has come since then, and I think it did a pretty fine job. Iris gets the lead early on thanks to Excadrill, which 1 was awesome because we haven't seen him in a while, and 2, it's the first Pokemon Iris truly owned. We've seen their development in early Best Wishes, so to see that he's her first pick in the Pokemon world's largest battle stage is a nice touch. These two really have been through everything together. Can't really say the same for Dragonite though. Man, has this dude fallen from grace. In Best Wishes, Dragonite was a near unstoppable force of nature, but in Journeys it's taken out by Dracovish in its debut battle, and is easily taken out by Cynthia's Milotic. Now to be fair, I think the whole point is to make Cynthia's Milotic look OP like in the games, so it seems like an even bigger deal when Haxorus is able to take it out, which I think the battle does rather effectively. And then we get the final showdown, Haxorus vs Garchomp. Can I start out by saying how gosh dang epic this was to have Cynthia's Garchomp come out to literal boss music? That scene went hard, and really captures how intimidating Cynthia and Garchomp are. Sorry though, dub fans, they'll probably ruin this moment. Garchomp! Seeing Haxorus go toe-to-toe with Cynthia's Garchomp is something I never would have imagined, but props to Journeys for allowing Iris to grow and reach this point. This truly is a battle where the student tries to surpass the master. The thing is though, I'm pretty sure Iris wasn't expecting this. Mega freaking Garchomp is here, and man is this thing a monster. Garchomp was already fearsome enough as it is, and now it can surpass its normal form? Cynthia is cracked! This battle truly does a good job at letting both these queens shine. Cynthia gets to assert her dominance, further hyping up her fight with Ash, while Iris is able to shine by showing off how much she's grown. Not enough to surpass Cynthia yet, but still impressive nonetheless. I mean, she did push Cynthia to use Mega Evolution after all, so that's saying something. Now this is how you make someone we care about lose with dignity and respect. Ash vs Steven. Damn, Journeys, back at it again with a controversial battle. The big problem with this one is that structurally, Ash was not meant to win this. Now, I'm not saying I want Ash to lose, I'm not one of those people, but I just mean that the battle plays out in a way where it really seemed like Steven was meant to win this. Now, obviously, I get it, the point was to make Steven seem powerful and have Ash win against all odds. This isn't new to anime, but the way Ash turns things around doesn't feel believable to me. For instance, out the gate, Dracovish is taken out by Aggron, giving Steven the lead. Good way to add some tension by showing Steven's strength while also putting Ash at a disadvantage. Gengar comes out, hits it with Will-O-Wisp, then pushes it back with Dazzling Gleam. But what's this? It looks like it didn't phase Aggron that much. And Ash and Gengar are even shook with how sturdy Aggron is. Crap, what's the play now? Oh wait, never mind, it dies from burn damage. That was stupid. The middle section of the battle is really the only good part because it feels like they're actually putting in some thought to this. Cradily is able to defeat Gengar with his tentacles, so the way Ash defeats Cradily is by using Pikachu's Electro Web to trap those tentacles, leaving it wide open for an attack. Moments like these make for good comebacks. There was an obstacle, and Ash came up with a clever way to overcome it, not letting freaking burn damage do most of the work. Then we get to the most annoying part, Pikachu versus Mega Metagross. The obstacle here is that Metagross can predict all of Pikachu's attacks, allowing it to easily dodge everything. So how does Ash overcome this? By using his most powerful attack, even though he hasn't figured out how to hit Metagross yet. Why would he do that? And to make matters worse, Metagross actually dodges the Z move, but then Pikachu redirects it and takes it out? This literally makes no sense. Since when can Pikachu do that? Feels like the writers wrote themselves in a corner by making Steven too good, so they relied on the Z move as a lazy way out. No thought, no strategy, it was just a straight up win button. It's so weird too, cause Ash even figured out a counter for Metagross in the beginning, but it never came up when it actually mattered. I'm so disappointed. Alright, and that concludes the first round of the Masters Tournament. And not gonna lie, it's not that great. But before continuing with the semifinals, let's first take a quick break to talk about the actual breaks and recaps that happened during this arc. For those of you who didn't watch the Masters Tournament week to week as they aired in Japan, God bless your innocent soul. During this arc, Pokemon Journeys gave us a number of break weeks where episodes didn't air, or even worse, we got recaps. These weren't just your standard recaps that we got on special occasions. These are recaps that counted as actual legit episodes. Imagine looking forward to what's supposed to be the most hype arc in the Pokemon anime, only to be hit with a recap of Chloe's evolution adventures, or Go's Project Mew missions, or recaps of the Masters Tournament during the Masters Tournament. Probably the worst of the recaps was the very first one. Like, Chloe isn't even at the Masters Tournament and now it's interrupted to focus on her? It felt so damn weird. The only silver lining is that this recap could potentially lead us to the climax of Chloe and Eevee's arc. Maybe a new evolution, maybe G-Max Eevee is coming? No, instead we got an episode about Cerise's childhood with a Clefairy and now Chloe's interested in evolution. I'm sorry, did you just interrupt the Masters Tournament for... Man, like, at least the Go recap followed with him leaving to do Project Mew. This literally felt like a waste of time. However, now that the tournament arc is complete, we finally understand the reason why we got so many breaks and recaps. Ironically, around the time where the tournament began, the anime staff let go of a lot of people, meaning that the people who were still working on the anime were most likely, no, they were definitely overworked. At the same time though, they were also working on an absolute visual masterpiece of an episode. That had to take in a lot of time and resources. So yeah, the breaks make sense. Now, even though I'm bringing up the recaps here, don't get it twisted, because I'm not letting it affect my opinions of the overall arc. In fact, I skipped them during my rewatch, because I care about my sanity, and I'm not even counting the Chloe filler since it literally has nothing to do with the tournament. I'm just addressing it because I know many of us had to sit through these during the weeks the arc aired, and I imagine it might have negatively affected our first time experience. I'll admit it, these constant breaks killed my excitement for the Masters Tournament back then. Luckily, we're in the future now, and we can just skip through those episodes and get to the ones that really matter. The Masters Tournament actually has some pretty good pacing when you don't include the recaps. So hopefully, this explanation brings us to a more positive atmosphere after going through that controversial first round. Leon versus Diantha. Never mind, I spoke too soon. Leon versus Diantha is trash, man. They really did not care about this fight and just wanted to get to Ash versus Cynthia. Most of it happens off screen because Ash and the group gets sidetracked by this little girl who got lost following this Gossifleur or whatever. Did they really just pull a Univa on us? I hate these kids so much. The only thing that truly gets focused from this fight is Mega Gardevoir versus G-Max Charizard, and even there they kinda dropped the ball. They made Diantha look so competent against Lance, but here it's just thrown out the window. They couldn't even make this fight seem close by having most of Diantha's Pokemon get swept by Rillaboom. Not Charizard, but Rillaboom. I don't know if I'm mad or impressed. The problem with this too is if you consider how easily Leon beat Alon and how utterly disrespected Diantha is here, it really makes Leon seem borderline untouchable. I know he's supposed to be the strongest, but you also gotta make it believable that Ash can put somewhat of a fight against him. Cause with how Leon's been looking so far, Ash really should stand no chance against him. So yeah, Leon's Rillaboom is broken, this fight sucks, moving on. Ash versus Cynthia. After 15 years, Ash is finally living up to his promise of battling Cynthia, and thank God it's a 6-on-6. The strongest part of this battle has to be the beginning. Cynthia leads with Spiritomb, and this thing is a menace. Using Hypnosis and Dream Eater to screw over Dragonite, Sucker Punch to get Gengar, and Destiny Bond to get Pikachu, Cynthia was not playing around. My worry coming into this battle was that Cynthia was gonna get nerfed to justify Ash's win, but I'm so glad I was proven wrong. This is one of the best starts to any full battle. Very similar to Ash vs Gary, where Ash is completely outclassed and has to fight an uphill battle to come out on top. Now, although Ash gets wrecked in the beginning, I really loved his use of Counter Shield. This was the perfect fight to bring it back. Something else that surprised me was how well Ash's team performed after the first half went down. I really expected Lucario to carry, but in all honesty, I think the boy Camon put in an equal amount of work. Not only did he destroy Stealth Rocks like a badass, not only did he defeat Milotic, but he also held its own against Garchomp. Good shit, my dude. Lucario owes its win to you. And you know what? It's about time we talk about that. Lucario versus Garchomp was an epic fight. Both of these Pokemon were pretty worn out by this point, but they still pushed through and give us an awesome brawl. I love the pure rawness of this fight. Unlike the Steven fight where Ash should have won using his brain, in this fight it makes sense to win using Brawn, cause these are two powerhouse Pokemon. What adds more depth to this final clash as well is the fact that we got a moment between Ash and Cynthia beforehand where they both look back at their beginnings with these Pokemon as eggs. It's a cool parallel. As satisfying as this conclusion is though, I can't help but feel like something is missing. Oh yeah, where's Mega Garchomp? Yeah, unfortunately this fight isn't all good, because for some reason the writers thought it was a good idea for Cynthia to have Dynamax Togekiss be her gimmick for this fight instead of Mega Evolution. Looking back, it really seems like they just did it for shock value and shock value alone. I understand that Cynthia was trying to keep Ash on his toes as he was expecting Mega Evolution the whole time, but the problem is that Dynamax Togekiss didn't really do much in the long run. It just spammed Max Airstream and never took advantage of the speed boost. Imagine if it baton passed into Garchomp. That would have been crazy. But no, instead it just made Togekiss overstay its welcome and robbed Garchomp of fighting at its full power. And now, even though Ash finally defeated Cynthia, which is amazing by the way, there will always be that looming question of whether or not Ash could have beaten her if she actually used the Mega, which is annoying. But either way, I still found this battle to be enjoyable. And now, before talking about the Ash vs Leon finals, let's quickly go over some of the other characters that appeared during this arc that we have yet to talk about. Team Rocket. I barely mentioned them in my episode reviews because their role in each episode is very minimal, but now that we're talking about the entire arc, I can finally share my experience with the trio. I love them here. During the Masters tournament, they show up as their radio show personas to livestream the battles and give their commentary. Aside from a few Jessie moments with her usual annoying Jessie-isms, Team Rocket were extremely enjoyable throughout this arc. It reminded me of the Sinnoh League, where their cutaways weren't intrusive at all and actually quite fun. From the trio recognizing some of the Masters 8, rooting for Iris, Jessie fangirling over Dianthe's Gourgeist, and even their commentary during the episode previews, Team Rocket were an absolute treat, which is saying something cause I'm usually the guy who hates on them. And speaking of treats, I like how Morpeko is always snacking on these different foods from across the Pokemon world, which makes sense since this tournament is a gathering of the world's strongest trainers. I know it's a small detail only dedicated fans would really pick up on or care about, but still, I thought it was cool. I even found it funny how their goal was to steal Pokemon, but they get so into the tournament that by the end they don't even want to stream it anymore and straight up root for Ash. Again, this is just like the Sinnoh League. The only episode I didn't enjoy Team Rocket in was the episode right before the finals, where they're actually behaving like Team Rocket. And yes, I'm counting this episode in the arc because it addresses the whole Eternatus thing, and this is the episode where Go leaves to do Project Mew. That's kind of important. And speaking of which, Go. Yeah, Go leaves this arc, and I'm not such a big fan of this. Throughout the entire Masters tournament, Go has been cheering for Ash, and I really enjoyed his commentary with Hop. But in the weirdest way possible, right before Ash's biggest match ever, he has to leave to do Project Mew. I think what they were going for is have both Ash and Go reach the climax of their journeys at the same time, but it doesn't really make sense when you consider the Project Mew episodes come out right after the tournament anyways. They could have easily just have Go watch the whole tournament, and then when Ash is done, jump right into Project Mew. Because of that, Ash's final battle felt slightly off. On the bright side though, this allowed Chloe and Dawn to show up in Go's place, which I guess makes up for that to some degree. But it still feels weird considering Go has always been there for Ash and now he's not when it matters the most. Now that's what I call a Journeys moment. And since I brought up Dawn and Chloe, let's end this character segment with all the amazing character cameos we got during this arc, cause I didn't really know where else to mention them without interrupting the battle segments. One of the coolest things about the Masters tournament were all the returning characters watching said tournament. We see Sycamore and Marin watching Alon, Richie, Jimmy, Marina, Jackson or Vincent watching Lance, the XY rivals watching Diantha, Alder and the Unova rivals, except Burgundy, watching Iris, Flint, Volkner, Paul and Reggie watching Cynthia, the Hoenn rivals, Professor Birch, and even AG characters of the days watching Steven, and best of all, everyone at Oak's lab watching Ash. Oh yeah, and the Cerise lab crew. What makes these cameos so special is that these are characters we never expected to see again. Like, ever. Did you expect to see Tot snap again? Cause I sure as heck didn't. Not only was this great fan service for longtime fans, but this also adds to the sheer scope of the Masters tournament. It truly makes this feel like the tournament to end all tournaments when many of the characters we've met across the 25 years of the anime are all spectating this insane event. And I know there's a few major cameos I have yet to mention, and that's because I want to save them for the final segment, cause those truly mattered there. And with that, I think it's about time we talk about the finals of the Masters 8 tournament. Ash versus Leon. This is the battle Ash has been working towards since the beginning of Pokemon Journeys, and in all honesty, I did not think much of this battle at first. I felt like the Cynthia battle was meant to be the big satisfying Ash win for this series. I thought he was gonna lose, and Leon's team didn't excite me. But I have never been more wrong in my life. Starting with Leon's team, my goodness did these guys show up. His Inteleon can dual wield, uses a counter shield, and even knocks Gengar out of G-Max. His Cinderace has Libero. Mr. Rime was swaggy as hell and gave Gengar, Camon, and even Lucario the smoke. Dragapult had the whole team caught off guard, and it's the one that took out Mega Lucario. And Rillaboom, he's just Rillaboom. He's a monster. That's something I really like. It's not just Ash's Pokemon that shine in this fight. The pacing definitely played a big part in that. Journeys is notorious for having rushed battles. I mean, just look at the first round. But allowing this final battle to last 4 episodes not only helped emphasize how important it truly is, but it also allowed it to breathe and properly execute its story beats. What's interesting about this battle is that it shares a very similar structure to Ash vs Paul, which is not a bad thing. Like Ash vs Paul, Ash takes the lead early on, which was unexpected. But this was all part of Leon's plan to weaken Ash's team and absolutely destroy his lead. This man was toying with him. Something I've yet to mention is the fact that Leon allows Ash to use all 3 of his battle gimmicks in this fight. It's really awesome because it allows Ash to go all out with everything he has, but also in reality, its usage here is to show how strong Leon actually is. Ash's first 2 wins are due to these gimmicks, and vice versa, Leon's wins are against these gimmick Pokemon, taking out Ash's heaviest hitters early on. Pikachu's 10 million volt Thunderbolt wasn't strong enough to defeat Charizard, and the only reason that annoying Cinderace was defeated was due to the extra Dynamax Eternatus gave Ash and Leon. Real quick on that though, it's the dumbest part of this battle. Pikachu one-shotting Cinderace was a bit too convenient, and also, Cinderace has Libero. Leon could have just used Max Quake and it would have been immune to Pikachu, like how this battle started. But I get it, they wanted to use the Fireball since that's a big design trait, and they wanted to move on to the best part afterwards. But yeah, back to the gimmicks, this actually helps Leon stay consistent with this portrayal. They made him seem near unstoppable in his battles, basically Superman tier powerful. So the battle gimmicks are Ash's way of closing that power gap. I know some might be upset with that and will say that, well, Ash would have lost if he only used 1, and I don't disagree. But still, I enjoyed the battle for what it is, and I think that's the most important part. Plus, Leon uses 2 G-Maxes anyway, so he ain't that innocent either. And now for the finale, Pikachu versus Charizard. This is the best 1v1 ever. We got the best animation in all of Pokemon, this fight was super intense, the blows were impactful, and it felt very personal to Ash. Because Ash was down to Pikachu and not like Lucario or something, this added way more emotional weight than I think any of us were expecting. And then on top of that, this is where they save the return of every Ash Ketchum companion. This was hype as heck. And also, we see Pikachu thinking of every Pokemon Ash has caught. This was a powerful scene. Now I truly feel the weight of this battle. Now I understand the stakes. Ash and Pikachu are about to take down the strongest trainer in the world. All their journeys have led to this battle. And then he does it. Ash defeats the undefeated Leon. What an amazing moment this was. This truly was the best way to end the Masters tournament. They didn't have to go this hard, but they did, and it was perfect. In fact, this finale is so perfect that it makes up for a lot of this arc's shortcomings. Even the recaps, they were worth it after all. So in conclusion, although the Masters Tournament has its shaky moments, the ending more than made up for it. Sure, things could have been better, Ash could have used older Pokemon, and some of the fights could have went differently, but as it stands, I finished this Masters 8 tournament feeling very, very satisfied. If you would have told me 3 years ago that Ash was gonna be in this big tournament with every champion and we'd see every battle, mostly, where we'll see every companion make an appearance and he'll be crowned the strongest trainer in the world, I would have laughed at you. But look where we are now. I don't know what the future holds for our boy, but I will tell you this. After this arc, I can proudly say that Ash Ketchum truly is the very best like no one ever was. This tournament's rating is a 7 out of 10. Thank you all for watching this video, and shout out to my amazing channel members for their extra support. If you want to see videos like these days early, consider hitting that join button to become a member as well. Remember to live your life to the fullest and have yourself a damn good one.